is up, guys? Welcome to Truth and Transparency. It is about noon. Let's get started. Today I'm going to be connecting some dots for us. That is how we're going to kick off this episode of the Moscow Police Department reports that make up the discovery. So I gave you guys a little bit of a teaser pleaser. So go ahead and take a look at the screen if you are listening. What you are looking at is, this is report 38. I'll zoom in. And report 38 is got me wondering what the hell is going on. And so I just have some questions, and these are my questions. There may be some simple answers out there, but here are the questions. Dollinger on 11/28 writes up this report, and it's report 38. So on 11/28/2022, he writes up this report. And in the narrative, which some of it actually should be in the evidence portion, but in the narrative, he says that on November 18th, this is what he does. He says that on November 18th, I met with Moscow Police Department property coordinator. This guy released the following items of evidence to me. And he listed them by not their item number, but he listed them right here by the tag that has to go with the case. So 22M-2097, 22M-2100, 2060, 2101, 2104. So what I went ahead and did is I tracked down these numbers. You can look over here. And so I had to go track them down. And I was able to track down all of the numbers. And then what I simply did was itemize them to say, okay, this had the date of November 23rd, 2022, and it was blood swab. And then this item, November 23rd, again, 2022. And then the 2060 item was November 19th, 2022. And that was the DNA swab from Peter. 22M-2101 was the buccal swab from Peter, actually. That was a DNA swab, and that was done on 11/23/2022. And then here, the last item here, this one, 2104. Well, that item was a glove that Officer Payne found, okay? And it had a date of 11/24/2022. So these are the items. And I noticed these dates. And I'm like, wait a second. On November 18th, he says he met with the property evidence guy and he obtained these pieces. And then he was the one that was supposed to be transporting these pieces of evidence that they collected to down in Boise. Okay. And I'm like, well, something's wrong here. And the most obvious I thought was, okay, this has to be the wrong date that this guy did this. Make sense? Like, this has to be the wrong date. He couldn't have done this on November 18th because these items didn't even exist yet. Okay. So he has to have the wrong date, right? That's what logic told me. But at the, like, regardless, this is an error. Like, you couldn't have done this on the 18th. So it's an error. And the whole point of this is to say these type of errors happen. They need to be corrected, because here's Roger Lanier coming through and he's saying that he reviewed it. He reviewed the work. Now, if you can notice here, Roger Lanier reviewed it on the 28th, just what? An hour and a half later, hour and 15 minutes later, on the same day that the report was written. And then I said to myself, okay, what if he really just meant to write that he did this on November 28th and he wrote his report on the 28th? I said, there's a little bit of a problem here. This is why you're supposed to be putting like timestamps, by the way, on what time you would have met with somebody, then you had to transport something, because let me break this down for you guys. That's also impossible. This report was written at noon on the 28th. In order to possibly even make this like remotely possible to write a report by noon on the 28th after, getting the items on the 28th at some point, which go all the way back to 12:01 a.m. from the property coordinator, then getting in a vehicle, driving 5 hours to Boise without stopping, then without even getting out of your car, turning around without stopping and coming back. That's 10 hours. Okay. Then you would have to sit at your desk and start typing stuff up. Again, this is not stopping on your way there, not stopping on your way back, and not stopping in between the trip there and back to actually like deal with it, And then I said to myself, well, clearly this is all wrong. So what did Dollinger really do on November 18th? What day did this really happen? Because it couldn't even happen on the 28th. Because there's no way that you're back writing a report and pressing enter by noon. And that's me breaking it down to say, okay, let's say that the guy left at 1 o'clock in the morning on the 28th to be able to even say that you did something on the 28th and to have all of this. Bottom line is this is wrong. And how do we know that? Number one, we know that because these items weren't even available they weren't even known to exist. Okay. And then if they weren't even known to exist yet, so clearly you didn't do it on that day. Oh, maybe it's just a typo. Well, I don't even think it was done on this day. And I just showed you why. These type of errors, are they truly errors, or maybe something else was actually done on that day and you mixed it up with your reports? Because November 18th is a very important day in this case. Because during testimony that was had up to this point, they said that the sheath was transported on the 18th. How about that? The sheath was transported on the 18th. The same day that this is a Scrivener's error. I'm not going to sit here and pull out the testimony. You guys can go back and check it if you don't believe me. But when Payne was asked questions on when profiles were developed and then when stuff was transported to even be able to like be worked on, like the sheath. Yeah. Now, these little errors, hey, it's human error. It's totally fine. People make mistakes, but you should catch them and they should just be corrected. So that's 38. Now, I told you that we would come back to this. And I said, we're going to come back to the geofencing. And that's report 57. So here we are because we want to break down this. Look at that. Oh, on November 18th. I'll tell you all about November 18th today. This is report 57. It was written up by Lawrence Mowry. Lawrence Mowry worked hand in hand with Nick Balance. Nick Balance, Mowry, and Payne basically worked hand in hand. Okay. This is for a Google geofence warrant. On November 18th, Mowry says that he applied and was granted a geofence warrant for any data associated with this anonymous information located within the following points. There was 4 points. And you can see Nick Balance's name. Nick Balance with FBI assisted in the production and service of the warrant. On the same day, November 18th, at approximately, look at that, 11:30 at night, the warrant was served email at blank. So it was served like basically right before November 19th. On November 20th, Balance received notice the data requested was available. The data files were downloaded to the forensic computers located in the secure forensic computer lab at the Moscow Police Department. Now, remember, this is what happened on the 18th. He's saying what happened then on the 20th. This was written up on December 5th. And based on the geofence, here it is, based on the information received and in correlation with the cell tower records, the dumps, that they were previously reviewed. And I said, okay, well, those cell towers, that came back on November 17th. Okay. Unless the FBI got their hands on it earlier, but anything that I've read, when they got those reports back, when you had all of them, November 17th is when you could have even started that. It was then, in their opinion, they found there to be 2 identifiers of interest. And then what they did is then they took these 2 identifiers of interest with those special, everybody has their own special number. And on November 20th, he then reapplied for a search warrant for any data associated with those identifiers, aka including subscriber information, like give me a name. One of those would come back to being Molly McMichael. They were only interested in 2. Molly McMichael. And right now, we do not know what the other one was. On November 20th, 2022, at approximately 10:14, the warrant was served email. On November 20th, Special Agent Balance received notice that the data requested pursuant to the warrant was available. You guys, so look at this. At 10:14, boom. They were able to get it back before it would have turned midnight. You guys see that? These times are just, it's telling you that this stuff was already had. Like they already had this. Also think about this. What is the wouldn't this be something that somebody would come in the next morning if you're Eastern Standard Time? So if you're Eastern Standard Time, this would have been 1:15 in the morning. Okay, 1:15 in the morning. And then by what? 2:45 in the morning. Hey, because it's, well, it was in the same day. So you only have a window of 1 hour and 45 minutes to get that back to still be November 20th. Okay. And I said, what the fuck? I was like, bullshit. This is what this is how they were able to find out that there was a parallel investigation or that the FBI was doing stuff on their own. Hey, yeah, let me go ahead and serve this for you. Yep. And then they were just turning around and giving them the results of what they had already produced, in my opinion. And then, hey, when we get your guys' stuff back, whatever, then here. And I think how they got caught, it was just like, dude, your dates aren't matching up. And this is why when you're asking for discovery, hey, where is this stuff? Where are these returns? What are the dates on these? Now, it was found out that one of the identifiers came back to the phone number blank. Okay. And this phone number would be Molly McMichael's phone number. He completed the warrant. Now, how do I know that? Well, I'm going to show you. So we got the number back on November 20th. The next report is on the next day, as you can see, that he writes it up is on 12/6/2022. And he's saying that on November, this is Lawrence Mowry's, is report 61. On November 22nd, 2022, I applied for and was granted a pen warrant for any data associated with phone number blank which was linked to a possible witness. And I'm like, wait, you're labeling somebody a witness versus a possible suspect? Or, I mean, why would you be pen trapping and tracing a witness's phone? What do they, I mean, remember how there were two numbers that they were interested in? Remember how I said I don't believe that Molly McMichael did that DoorDash alone? So here, Special Agent Nick Balance with the Federal Bureau of Investigation assisted in production and service of the warrant on November 22nd, 2022 at approximately 8:26. The warrant was served via fax. On November 22nd, Special Agent Balance received notice. The data requested pursuant to the warrant was available. Look at that. You're doing this at 8:26 at night, which would be on the East Coast, 11:26 at night. And if this was sent, you have to ask if this was people handling it on the East Coast. I have a huge issue with it. Who's handling that? On November 22nd, he's saying it's ready. Here we go. The data files were downloaded to the forensic computers located in the secure forensic computer lab at the Moscow Police Department. The pen register trap and trace data were terminated on November 30th, 2022. You see? There you go. They put a pen register. How are you getting a pen register trap and trace? How are you able to get that on Molly McMichael's phone? Because you think that they're a witness? Or is it because you think that they're a suspect? And they ran that. Now this is where it's gonna get wild. I'm like, okay. And they terminated it now on November 30th. Why would you terminate it on November 30th? I think that those run for you just don't get 7 days worth. Okay. Molly McMichael was subsequently identified. Now think about this. Bill Thompson. Now these aren't going to be in any reports because Bill Thompson didn't write any reports. Bill Thompson was working side by side with everybody, right? We now know that Molly McMichael is friends with Bill Thompson. More importantly, as soon as Bill Thompson would have heard the name Molly McMichael, Bill Thompson would have been like, wait, that's Molly? That's Molly? Oh my God, I know her. Her husband was da-da-da, and oh my gosh. And then everybody would have known what they're into in that community around there. And so you can't sit here and say that wouldn't have been talked about. Now the question is was Molly McMichael talked to prior to Payne's interview? Because Santa's like, oh my God, I know her. I have a good relationship with her. Did he say, let me talk to her, or I'll call her up? No. What we see, I have no idea if that happened. What we see is they only talk about this phone number being pen trapped and traced, but where's the other phone number that was of interest? Why wouldn't it be listed in the same thing that you would have been doing if both of those were interest to you? You're going to be doing the same thing. You'd be memorializing both numbers that were of interest to you. And once the one number was no longer became of interest to you, you'd be documenting why. So when you go through these, it's like, okay, there was two phones that were in your geofence at very being operating and in your right there, very oh my God, here we go. Well, where's this other number? Who's it belong to? No mention of it in the report. So So then Brett Payne has his interview that we've already gone over with Molly. Okay. And I want to show you guys. Remember I told you I would let you guys know about the DoorDash, just so you guys can see that Brett Payne was not being truthful. Molly was clearly identified through the Google geofence. Okay. DoorDash does not come into play and is not known of. Okay. In none of the interviews with any of the roommates do they say, oh, one of our roommates ordered DoorDash. Okay. And they received a DoorDash. Okay. So none of the roommates know about this DoorDash. The only person that says anything about this DoorDash is when they finally talk to Molly McMichael. Okay. And Payne talks to Molly McMichael, like we've already went over, on November 23rd. No, Payne finds a glove outside on November 24th. Okay. He says in his interview with Molly that she was identified through DoorDash and a geofence. That's not true. Okay, she was not identified through DoorDash. Molly, when interviewed, told them why she was there. And then this makes sense then, right? Now, ding, ding, ding. On December 6th, I applied and was granted a warrant for all information in DoorDash's possession related to sales, deliveries, purchases, and or transactions made to 1122 King Road. On December 6th, at this time, the warrant was served. And then on December 7th, I received an email from DoorDash containing the data. Something that I find just really interesting is in Payne's interview with Molly. Where is this? Okay, let's go. One second. Okay. I'm going to refresh your guys' memory. Molly. I went ahead and added stuff for you. This was written up by Payne on January 10th after the arrest of Brian Koberger. Okay. I went ahead and put these dates in here. The geo events started working on that the 18th, 20th, 22nd. Okay. Those are those dates. On November 23rd at approximately 8:30, Molly came to the Moscow Police Department to be interviewed about her presence in the area of 1122 King Road. Do you see how nothing came back from DoorDash? You're not calling her in because she's the DoorDash. You have no idea that she DoorDashed that night. You have no idea what she's there for. She's in the area. You have no idea unless somebody got to her before Payne did. And now we know that her name was known about between these dates, November 20th, 21st, 22nd, and now here's his interview, 23rd. And if Bill Thompson has a rapport with her, don't you think that Bill Thompson, I mean, they were helping out with everything. Hey, I know her. So there was no DoorDash warrant, nothing until December 6th. So now let's think about this. You have no idea. You're having Molly in there, right? And now read this report now again. On November 23rd, approximately 8:30, Molly comes to the Muscle Piece apartment to be interviewed about her presence in the area. That means that somebody would have had to call her. Where's the call? Where's the phone call to Molly? I want that. You guys would have had to have recorded that. Where's the phone call to Molly? That would be a discovery request by Ann Taylor to get that information. You'd want to hear that phone call. Okay, who called Molly? Did you guys record the conversation? You bet your bottom dollar. You guys put a pen trap and trace. We want the pen trap and trace. We want to know everybody that Molly called between November 22nd, 3rd, whenever you put it on 22nd, to November 30th. So that's going to be your next request is November 22nd to the 30th. I want the trap and trace. Because there's no results that I've seen yet. Hey, Molly, this is so-and-so and so-and-so. We're calling because, hey, we wanted to see if we can interview you for, think about that. So she goes down there. She's in an office with Payne. They're saying it's recorded, right? Now read what he says here. Molly was identified as being in the area through records obtained from DoorDash. You see that? This is not true. That is not true. She was identified by a geofence warrant, period. Her DoorDash would be confirmation for her story. Again, Molly was identified as being in the area through records obtained from DoorDash via a search warrant and was confirmed as being in the area based off of a Google geofence. No, opposite. Let me make this. What number is that? This is report 104, by the way. There you go. That's better. Molly told me she worked for 12 to 18 hours on the night, November 13th, or 12th to the 13th, and received 3 orders in the Queen Road area. Okay, this is so vague, right? Wouldn't you ask her what time from what time? Can you pull up your app? What time do you think you were working from? Okay, why are you being so vague with the numbers? Then he says 2 of the orders were at 500 Queen Road Apartments complex, which is immediately to the east. Then he says Molly said the delivery at 1122 King Road was her final order for the evening. Okay, well, what time was it at? What time is it at? Why aren't you putting down the times? You're writing this up in January 10th. You have all of this information, right? Or do you not? It would tell you what time the order was actually placed. The way that Molly operates in her world, okay, Xana would have placed that order hella a long time before she got that. Okay. Now, why would this be so vague? Why is everything that Payne writes is so vague? It's January 10th. Also, you're supposed to be memorializing her interview, right? And so nothing after that day of that interview would be known to you. So if you're just memorializing her interview, you're supposed to be just writing down everything that she is saying. You're not supposed to put your conjecture on your report. So Molly said that she could not find the 1122 King Road address, as the address numbers were hidden by the porch light, which caused her to remain in the area for approximately 15 minutes. Now, that seems out of order. Molly also stated her Google Maps told her to go to the parking lot immediately behind 1122 King Road. So that seems like it would be the first thing that you would write down, right? Because if you're following your Google Maps, like that's what you would do first. And then you would say, yeah, so I was trampling all over, right? Molly stated she initially parked, it means before you did anything else. Molly said that she initially parked in the front of 1122 King Road. That would mean that her Google Maps, she didn't listen to it. And she just pulled into the driveway. Well, why would you do that if you're following the Google Maps? It's going to turn you right and go up that little side street. So right there, that doesn't make any fucking sense. If you initially pulled in the driveway, okay, that does not make sense that you'd be lost then. The order is out of order. And it's kind of like when Dylan's the PCA. Dylan originally, you know, that bullshit initially and originally. Yeah, this is Payne's writing. She says, Molly said that when she initially parked in the front of 1122 King Road and she could see a female in the top left window. Did you show her the house and have her pick out the window? Did Molly truly identify that it was the third story bathroom? That matters. Because why would Xana be upstairs? Or does that just help the narrative of where Xana would have been in the house? It doesn't say, I showed Molly a picture of the house and asked her what window it was, and could she circle it and could she initial it? You guys see that there? I don't. I see in parentheses, Payne putting that in there. And remember, this was written up January 10th. This interview was November 23rd. Next. You guys do know that people have phones when they dash, right? You guys do know that time is money when you're dashing. The last thing that you do is search around for frickin' houses. This is about making money and making it quick. Why wouldn't Molly call or text the person that you're door dashing it to? You would never walk around an area for 15 minutes. Okay. Experienced door dashers? No. In fact, you tell people to turn on the porch light. Hey, I'm over here. I can't find your place. You're going to text them. If you're running late, you text them. Then you can actually call them through the app. Okay. But the last thing that I'm going to do, and I'm not even a DoorDasher, And I can only imagine what a DoorDasher, how they would feel is I'm not going to hunt around for a house for 15 fucking minutes. And then let's be honest, if you were pulled into the driveway and you got out of the car there while it was in that driveway and you have a flashlight, wouldn't you shine the flashlight on the house to see if there was a number on the house, which is like literally right above it? It's not like it's hidden on the side where a car could be blocking the view of that. Also, does it look like Molly came forward? Remember the DoorDasher was identified. Yeah. This DoorDasher didn't come forward to say, "Oh my god, I delivered there last night." Or, "Oh my god, I realized this, even just a couple days." This was all over the news. She lives in Moscow. And then at the bare minimum, how about this? You were over in that area at that time. And let's say that you don't even know that you delivered to that house or not. You were over in that area 3 times delivering over there. Wouldn't you want to come forward and say that? You're friends with Bill Thompson, right? And my question is now is, did she do that? And Bill Thompson was like, "Oh, well, here, Molly, what are you doing over there, Molly? We know what you're into. Oh, you're really door dashing, huh? Is that it? Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like you dropped the food off and they're still in the area for 15 minutes, or you're there for 15 minutes, then you don't drop the food off. What are you doing? Did you actually have a conversation with Sienna? Molly doesn't even have to watch the news. Molly's on her phone and Molly's on apps, okay? You're going to sit here and tell me that Molly had no idea where this house was located and never came forward. And you think that that's okay? Why when I went back and looked and I said, "Wait, why is what's her name? Or what's his name? Why is Lawrence Mowry calling Molly a witness when he wrote up the report?" And so I said to myself, I said, "Now that is fucking interesting." I said, "He doesn't write the name witness in front of people. You don't know what they are." But did he in this sense? Because she did come forward and she went to Bill Thompson because that's her relationship. Now let's watch how vague Officer Payne would be. He knows all this information because he writes this up so much later. Let's watch how vague he is about to be. Molly said that she could see a female in the top left window. Molly said that she saw the same female a couple more times in the same window, and she would duck down when Molly looked at her. Now, why would Molly want to say that? Well, you saying that is somebody saying, "Well, I know that they were alive, or the person that I saw was alive because I saw somebody in there up, down, up, down." So you're extending life in up on the 3rd floor. Molly, by saying that, it's like, okay, Molly, so everybody's alive, and then you get there and what? Everyone's dead. No, 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 no. I was. Who are you? Who are you there with? What's that other second number? Why were those two numbers like basically in concert that went on the same geofence and that they were interested in? Whose is that second number? Molly always goes with people when she door dashes. Whose is the second number? The person that maybe that night Molly was door dashing and somebody was following her around. Molly then says, so if you're going in chronological order, right? And Molly's supposed to be sober as a judge when she did her delivery, right? So when I pull in initially, I see somebody go up, down, ducking. Then Molly says that she drove to the back parking lot behind 1122 King Road and parked. Why the fuck would you do that? She stated that she could see the back courtyard area behind the house and noticed all of the lights were on. Molly stated her map told her to walk into the back of the house, but she did not feel comfortable doing so because there was no path. And I went back and I looked at my video again and I said, actually, that's not accurate. It just has you coming in from the side of the house. It does not have you going to the back. It has you coming in from like the side of the house. It does not walk you around to the back. I would love to see a screenshot and I would say like, oh, pull up Google Maps. Let's see what your Google Maps looks like. Wouldn't you as a detective say, oh, well, here, let me see what it looks like because that's interesting. Maybe that happened to somebody else then too. Can I see that? What do you mean by that? Can you show me what you mean by that? That would be an investigative, like, oh, I want to see what you're talking about just so I can get more knowledge here. That's interesting to know because you also have another party driver that was driving around, right? Hey, yeah, let me see this. Can you pull it up here? Put the address in. Let me see what it looks like. Or wouldn't you try it yourself if you're a detective? Take a screenshot of it, see what it looks like. It brings you up to the side and has you walk down through the side if you were parking on that side street, but you would still be walking into the front door when I went back and analyzed it again. And so, but it would send you past the driveway. And that's what I think is interesting is that for her to say that she didn't pass up the driveway the first time, because that's what you would do if you're following your GPS, but she originally parked in the driveway, that tells me that I'm curious if somebody gave her that information to say. Because if you originally went into the driveway, and I would love to know if she's ever DoorDashed there before. If these people are notorious in this house for getting late time orders and homies, like, you know, it's a small area. Did she ever door? I mean, she would know. But so here he's just, so here's Molly and she's like, okay, I don't feel comfortable walking in the back. So instead, even though she doesn't even know if it's the house yet, even still though, because she hasn't seen a number yet, supposedly. But she didn't feel comfortable walking up to the back. So she said she started to walk down the road, which is the side of the house road, which runs north and south, immediately to the east of the residence. Molly stated that that's when she saw this tan sedan and it drove next to her while she was walking. Now, the way that that's written is it's like, okay, now let me explain to you what would have had to happen here. It's written as in the car was driving down this little side. Oh, I'm sorry, over here. This little side street. Coming from the back way to then go out that way. That means if Molly was walking this way, she's facing that way. Molly sees, when somebody's coming up from behind you and you hear the car, but also you see the lights then flashing. Molly would have had to kind of like stop, kind of like go over to like a little bit to the left, get out of the way, and would turn around and stop and then like get a view like that. Because if Molly just kept walking, Molly's not seeing the driver. So Molly would have had to get out of the way a little bit, stop, and then turn to then see this driver. Okay. Molly said there was one male driver and noticed he did not look at me. She said he looked completely zoned and just drove by her. Okay, so we need to identify who the fuck this is, right? Who this? New phone, who this? Right? So I'm like, my next note is where's the report of the tan sedan driver? At approximately 4 a.m., which is different than Brian Kohlberger's white Elantra, okay? So that would be a discovery request. This is how Ann Taylor racked up all these requests because she couldn't find these reports. Oh, and she says he had blonde or red spiky hair. What? Okay. Molly said she also noticed the dome light was on in the car, and that he was wearing a collared shirt. Prepville. Molly stated she walked back. Now think about this. Molly just sees this car as she's walking. Then she decides when she's on this little street, you know what? I'm going to go back to my car. Because there's nothing in the report that says that she did something. This is like right after she saw this dude, which was on this street. Okay. I'm just going to, walk back to my car, get in it, right? I'm going to walk back to my car. So she didn't feel like going in through the back way. So she didn't. So she's walking down the street and she decides, okay, I'm not going to go from the back. I'm just going to go into the front. But you know what? I just have a little bit more steps to take, right? So instead of just finishing out those little steps that I would have had to like just walk there and put it there on the side by the door, I'm going to go back into my vehicle because there's like nowhere to park ever over there. But let me just go back and get in my vehicle. That's logical as fuck. This is why Molly doesn't make any fucking money. Molly, the logical DoorDasher ever. So she then walks back up to her car and drove back down to the front of 1122 King Road. Molly, how long do you think it took you? Like when you were sitting there, how long were you sitting there in the driveway the first time, do you think? Did you get out of your car the first time? Did you shine a flashlight on the house to see if you could see the numbers? Okay, so then you get back in the car, but you never left the car. Like, wouldn't you be asking for details like that? Okay, yeah, you would. Okay, so here she is. I just drove back to the front, and at this point, I was just able to see the address numbers. At which point she saw the address numbers. Oh wow, how did you see them this time? Where were they? Can you tell me where they were? Where were the address numbers when you saw them? Oh, I would love to hear that answer. I mean, let me just fucking interview these people. Molly said she placed the order at the front door. Okay, well, when that's what you have to write. Molly said she didn't say what she got out of the car. She took her flashlight when she got out of the car. She took her. Where was the food at? Was it in like? Did you have to open up another door, or was it just there on the side passenger seat? So you just grabbed it. Was the order for one person? Was the order for two people? Was it for four people? The fuck? This is getting me so angry. Any detective would have been asking these questions and would have been making a report of this because you'd want to know. Because that's pertinent information. when you'd be interviewing this person on 11/23. And then you would ask them, okay, if you don't remember, you have your app. Can you look it up? Do you care if I take your phone? Can we download your phone? So here, oh, wait, I just saw the address and I'm in the driveway. So Molly said she placed the order at the front door. She took a picture and then left at approximately 4 a.m. There should be no approximately. Hey, Molly, you took a picture. Okay, awesome. Explain to me how this app works. So let's look at it together. Can you pull it up? Okay, so when you take a picture, where does it go in your roll of camera as well? Like when you take a picture, because since you're using your phone roll of camera, does it go into your saved photos as well as to like, you know, maybe your DoorDash, you know, camera roll? How about let's go back? Those are all time stamped. What kind of phone do you have? Okay. Well, let's go back and look. It was just a week ago. 10 days ago. You guys see any of that on there? Now, is it not there because Payne didn't ask these questions? Or is it not there because Payne didn't write that part in the report? And if you want to know other stuff other than what he's writing here, you better listen to the tape. That's what I had to do in the Dan Moore case. You think I went off of the Idaho State police officer's reports? I had to listen to, I couldn't even tell you how many interviews, and made up my own reports from listening to the interviews of what I believe was pertinent and timestamped each pertinent statement. And I timestamped it that way so that it was quicker and easier for a lawyer to go and find the fucking shit. Took me a lot of time to do it. And then I got lazy fucking lawyers that didn't even look at the shit. And I'm like, you guys are so fucking pathetic. All this shit clashes and you don't think you could fuck all this shit up on cross-examination? At the very least, mind the fact that you have an innocent client, but you can't. Do you even know what cross-examination is? Oh, wait, that's right. You guys aren't trial. You guys aren't litigators. You are plea dealing motherfuckers in Idaho. That's right. I forgot. If you ain't pleading, I ain't working with you. You ain't gonna be my client. Dude, people are taking cases knowing that they're never going to trial with it, but telling their clients that they are. That's some sick ass shit, don't you think? I have proof. That a public defender in Idaho lied to a client, it's recorded, and said that they interviewed a woman and sent the private investigator to interview, and that they had this report all typed up. It never happened. How do you do that? Who do you think you are? And the only reason I have it on record is because my house has fucking cameras galore and it's all audioed up here. Come for me, we gotcha. I mean, these people think that they're untouchable. You should lose your license. And it wasn't just the one attorney. Both attorneys said the same thing. And they were having each other's back on an interview that they know never took place over a fucking material fact witness, a fucking liar who I believe, in my personal opinion, was involved in the killing. Because why else would the fuck you would lie about when you left the doctor's office? Because it matters, because he was killed right after you left. And the lawyers twiddling their thumbs over there in Idaho. Same shit. Then you got the lawyers marrying the cops, and it's like, oh, wow, that's just one big circle jerk. But we'll calm down, man. During the time that Molly was in the area of the King Road residence, what do you mean during the time? You know when she was there. What time to what time? But during this time, the white Elantra can be seen via the King Road camera driving back and forth on Walenta. Guess what? They're not able. The FBI cannot label that the white Elantra. They just said those are headlights. Payne is labeling that the white Elantra. And so he's basically saying that it is driving back and forth. Okay. So whereas the FBI is over here saying, hey, these are headlights at this time, then we have headlights coming back at this time. But here's Payne on January 10th writing in a report that has nothing to do. Molly didn't say that she saw those fucking headlights. Molly wasn't like, God, I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. I have cars just circling me over here. I got someone revving it up on Walenta back and forth. I got this spiky dude in his sedan, you know, and then I got these other weirdos walking around. You guys see Molly saying that? I don't see Molly saying anything. I see Payne saying during the time that Molly was in the area of the King Road residence, the white Elantra can be seen via the King Road camera driving back and forth on Walenta Drive and then enters the King Road, Queen Road loop at approximately 356. So you're going off of the 112 camera, okay, 356. At the point Molly pulled into the front parking lot before she dropped the order off. So I was like, okay, now we can do a timeline. And I was like, I want to do it for you guys. So I have my white. I said that if Molly originally was sitting in the driveway, okay, Molly would have had to have gotten there at like 3:40. Okay. Because if she was in the area for 15 minutes, right, that's going to take you to 3:55. 3:45, taking you to 4. Okay. This is Molly's block. So that's Molly's block. Now, remember, 3:39, what happened at 3:39? Oh, Lana, that's when the white Elantra entered one of the loops, isn't it? I think you're right. Right? It did 3:29, right? Come on, you guys in chat. Help me out. What are the 4 timestamps of the Elantra? Molly would have been circled like a shark. You know, you understand that? I would have been like, if I was Molly, thinking, oh my God, dude, what the heck's going on around here, man? I'm getting circled. Okay. Like, what is going on? So Payne says, hey, well, guess what? At 356, that car is the white Elantra and it pulls in behind Molly's vehicle. Molly doesn't say that. Thank you, Mark. There you go. 3:30, 3:38. Thank you. 3:30, 3:38. That was when I was looking for. 3:38. Okay. 3:38. Molly doesn't say that she saw a car pulling behind her. So how does Payne know that the Elantra pulled in to at 356 when it's seen on 1122 or 1112? Remember, the camera doesn't show past the house. So where is Payne getting this information that the white Elantra pulls into and behind Molly McMichael's car in the driveway? Molly doesn't say that. Do you understand? He actually writes it right here and says, Molly did not mention seeing the white Elantra behind her at any time. Well, did you ask her? Hey, Molly, because now this is why this is important. Ethan and Xana, when do they get home? When do they get home? I have not come across a report yet that writes in like, hey, Xana's cell phone connected to the Wi-Fi at the house at such and such time. Okay. Ethan's, and this is why I believe that the infotainment center was taken out of their cars, is to see if they had drove those cars at certain time to use to explain like where they're at, because none of the girls say that like Bethany nor Dylan mention seeing Ethan or Xana at home while they were home before bed. And if you think about it, remember the police are like, we're trying to get the whereabouts and restructure Ethan and Xana's night, because it could only be accounted to up until a certain point. And the cops just let it continue to roll that they were at Sigma Chi until 1. But the last sighting that I have in a report right now is that Ethan is being seen at 10:30. So going back to this, remember, you should be grilling Molly. You have no idea if, hey, Molly, was anybody door dashing with you? Did you have anybody in the car with you? Were you by yourself? Where's that in here? Oh, it's not in there. So instead, Payne just wants to say, hey, they had a launcher pulled in behind Molly's vehicle, which Molly had a gray Subaru Forester. I understand that that's her car, but did she identify her car on the cameras to say, oh, yeah, that's me right there? Yep. Because we all know that you don't have to DoorDash in the vehicle. You can DoorDash in any vehicle you want. Let's say that I have an account. I could use, if I go visit my family, I'm like, hey, let me borrow your car, Mom. I'm going to go out and DoorDash. Okay, go ahead here. I just turn my app on and I go at it. So I don't give a shit what vehicle Molly has, like, registered to her. I care, was she driving that car? Did you ask her, hey, what car were you driving? I don't see that in here. Do you? That's like how a normal report would be. I asked Molly what car she was driving that night. I asked Molly if she'd ever DoorDashed there before. Well, no, because that's why she was lost. I don't know. Or Molly is just a fucking, space cadet. This is a narrative. This isn't memorializing an interview with somebody. This is a narrative. Hence why you don't write a report on January 10th for what went down on November 23rd. I continue to question Molly about her time near the residence. She told me that she walked down Queen Road at one point with her flashlight out. You guys, do you know I lost it when I read this? Like, I was like, I fucking knew it. I knew somebody was out there with a flashlight. You can see it in Linda Lane. You can literally see. And I had to argue with people. They're like, it's bugs. It's bugs. I was like, bug my ass. There ain't no bugs at November 13th. Bugs are in like the summer, man. Okay? These aren't bugs. These are these are flashlights. And then out of the blue, Molly says that she's walking down Queen Road, which is this way. Queen. She's walking down Queen Road with a flashlight. Doing what? What is she doing? Wait, didn't Bethany say that she saw a flash? 3:52:03, Dean, flashlight, Linda Lane. Titties! Woo! Wait, didn't Bethany say that she saw a flash and a firework and a bang firework? What did Molly do? Walk up to the residence with her flashlight, right? And so her flashlight, what could be, Bethany said that she could see it through her door, though. Was the door open? Was that front door open already? And here's Molly, because remember, Murphy's missing, right? Molly walks up to the house. You guys, it's pitch black. I would have a flashlight if it was my phone. Remember, I told you guys how pitch black it is over there when you watch the body cams. This is so, dude, you're a female. I'm not walking up to that house. in the pitch black. I'm either, and if you think about it, if you're a DoorDash, it kind of makes sense that you have a flashlight, or hey, I'm just so used to using my phone as my flashlight, right? Either way, it makes total sense that Molly would have a flashlight just to like go up the like to the house so you could put the food down and you're gonna take your picture, you know, all that, right? But Molly walking, she's saying, Queen. Well, that's interesting because Bethany Funk said that she saw a flash. She heard what sounded like a firework and saw a flash underneath her door. And I said, oh my God, Molly, you son of a bitch. You were like so pissed that you couldn't find the house that you kicked the door to let them bitches know your food's here, you little fuckers. Right, Molly? And when you did it, the I think the door popped open, right, Molly? But when you kicked it, it made a big, like a big pow, like, whoa. And she had her little flashlight. So it was like wow, I hear a big bang. And then I see a flash, like I see that flashlight underneath, like a light. Think about that. Molly's a little clumsy. Maybe Molly fell into the fucking door. Okay, Molly could have fallen over and fell right into the door. Maybe she tripped as she's walking up and literally biffed it and went blasting into the door. And the door wasn't shut all the way, so it just like, you know what I mean? I'm just going off of what Bethany's hearing over here around 4:00. Well, that's around the same time that Molly's over there doing God knows what with a flashlight. So Payne doesn't say, okay, when you went up to the door, did you touch the door? Did you ring the doorbell? Okay. Would you be willing to give me your DNA, right? Because you want to like, you know. Okay, Molly, so go ahead, continue on with your story for me so I can write this down. Well, I was walking up and down Queen. Yeah, so I just, you know, she told me that she walked down Queen Road at one point with her flashlight out. Molly can be seen doing so on the footage from 1112 King Road. Do you guys understand how like Molly would have walked? Here's the house, right? She walks past it, and you know the house that's got the little light bulb. Walks past, has to get almost to like, you guys know where you can start seeing somebody. And then you would say, okay, you're telling me that you walked up and down and, oh, hey, let me look at this footage that I have. Oh, this is this woman. Well, hey, is this you? Would you have her identify herself? In the Sheldon Jeter Jr. case, they called in these witnesses and they wanted them to identify their cars. And they said, hey, don't pay attention to the timestamp. That's part of my intro video. Don't pay attention to the timestamp of the video. It's wrong. But I want you to identify your vehicle when you see it. And so this kid, because he immediately said, he's like, yeah, that's my car, but that's not the right time. So, and those were Pennsylvania State police officers that called in this kid and was showing him, and that it wasn't just this kid, it was like 4 people. Can you identify your vehicle? That's what Pennsylvania State Police did. Okay. So when people are going to say, Lana, that's not protocol. Okay, well, let me tell you what Pennsylvania State Police did in Sheldon Jeter Jr.'s case. 4 witnesses showed him one of the cameras that they used in the case and said, here, these are the cars that are going. Can you identify your car? Which one's your car? Okay, so in this situation, hey, Molly, we want you to identify your vehicle. And hey, we want you to identify your person. Like, Molly has no idea what this report says, right? So we just know that in this report, he didn't think it was pertinent to tell the reader of this report that, hey, I asked Molly to look at clips to see, okay, hey, yep, that's my car there. That's my car there. That's my car there. Oh, and that's me. Look at me. Remember I told you I was walking around with the flashlight. That's me. Look at me. Oh my God, look at me. I'm falling over. God, I worked so many hours that day. Look at me. You know, like that type of shit. Instead, we get this. Molly also continued to tell me the female she saw in the upstairs bathroom window would duck down when Molly looked at her. Molly described her as having long brown hair. Long brown hair. I don't give a fuck what Molly described. Molly saw somebody in the third floor bathroom, okay? Everybody on the third floor is supposed to be asleep, right? Because there's nothing on their phones after, like, are there steps? What time is Maddie's phone? What is her health data showing? Okay. Because we would definitely want to know who's on the third floor. Is somebody actually up there checking on somebody? Because did something already happen? And when she supposedly was asked, Molly stated that she could not identify the girl as one of the victims. Was that because you showed her, hey, I'm going to show you a 6-pack? And she showed, 5 people that live there, maybe throw in one other person and say, are these any of the girls that you saw? I can't be sure. Or get her with a sketch artist? Wouldn't you want to know who was awake and on that third floor at 3:52 or at 3:55 or at 4 o'clock or at 3:42? Remember how I said, well, how do we know that it's Molly's DoorDash app that was used, right? Or, did that actually confirm it? And what's weird to me is that he's not writing down like specific things. And that kind of frightens me on the whole fact of, you should know this when you wrote this report on January 10th, the exact time. Like, this isn't some probable cause outdated. This is your report. What time did Molly's fucking picture snap on that app? What time did Molly click the button to say that she completed her fucking route? Did Molly actually take a picture, or did she just think that she did? And since it was the last order that she was doing, she didn't even care about like pushing that through. What? You have this material. Why wouldn't you write it what it was? The only thing that's showing that Molly was the DoorDasher that night is this 1112 camera that supposedly caught Molly walking around with her flashlight. Well, you know how Molly kind of looks like who'd be walking around? Didn't Josie say that she left her phone in her car that night and that she had to go outside to get it? How does Payne know that the person on the 1112 camera with this flashlight is truly Molly unless Molly identified herself? Molly would have to say, yep, that's me. Payne can only say a woman was seen walking, and I couldn't find a report that says that at all, so I'm still hunting. Okay. What I'm trying to say is, from a defense attorney's position, how I would be looking at this and all the questions that I would have would lead me to have like 60 discovery requests, supplementals, just off of this. This report would lead me to have 60 supplementals because I'd be digging through these other reports to try to find what I'm looking for, and I can't find it. But you would have to have that information, which is, well, where's the attachment of the DoorDash, her DoorDash app, meaning Molly's? There was only ever a search warrant for the deliveries made to the house, right? Is it possible that Molly was actually DoorDashing on somebody else's account, and that's why they had to go about doing the DoorDash through who was sending, or who was delivering to the house? Because Molly is like, well, yeah, I didn't use my account though. I used so and so's account. So, but if you look, you can go through you can see that they would have gotten one. You can go based off the address. Don't you think that's kind of weird? That there's no hey, let's get a search warrant, or let's ask Molly if we can have her phone a download to get all the information. Because this is how I'm looking at it. On this date, okay? If you're truly doing an investigation and you have no idea, you want to be detailed, right? Because you are trying to figure something out. One of my friends was going through something, and she's like, hey, I want to be able to ask certain questions to somebody that I know didn't do a job with my kid. So would you help me write up a bunch of questions where I can kind of nail them? I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I love that shit. Let's go. Okay. And I was like, how many times did this person ever visit your kid? Once. I said, oh, in 3 years? I said, yeah, then I don't think they're too concerned if they only visited once in 3 years for 10 minutes. So you're going to ask things like, it'd be important for you, if you felt somebody wasn't in a safe environment, to visit. How many times would you say is appropriate to make sure there's a consistency there? How many times did you do that? And there's no law against how many times you can go and visit, right? And nobody denied you the opportunity to do that. You just didn't go because you didn't think that it was pertinent, right? Otherwise, you would have went and visited as many times and checked on things, right? But you didn't, because you don't think there's an issue. Otherwise, if there was an issue, you would have been attentive and been there. But it wasn't. I mean, are you overworked? How many cases do you have right now? Fuck them up. Fuck them up. She was like, I was like, just, yeah, give that to your lawyer. They're not going to do anything like it. Just tell me you want all these questions asked. That person didn't do their job. Tell them to go sit and spin. So for me, if I'm trying to figure out what happened to 4 kids that were murdered, right, I'm going to be asking Molly a hell of a lot of questions. I'm going to be making sure, Molly, you're sure that none of the girls came down and opened the door? You're sure that the door wasn't opened when you went there? Because remember, the next morning, Jeremy is walking his dog saying how the door was opened. So when you got there, was the door open? No, it was closed. Okay, hey, you took a picture of it? Let me see the picture. Let me make sure that the door was closed. Did you hear a dog barking while you were there? When you walked up to the door, did the dog bark? Dogs bark all the time when people go to the door. Molly, did you hear a dog bark? Molly, did you see any dogs? Molly, you're out fucking walking around. What do you do? Why were you walking up and down Queen? Doesn't make any sense to me. You're door dashing, you get in, get out, get your next order. And maybe this, because Payne's just wild. The way this is worded about Molly walking around, Molly can, or I continued to question Molly about her time near the residence. Her time near the residence. Well, is that when she was in the first trip to go to the 500 Queen, and the second one when she went to the 500 Queen because she'd still be in the area? Okay, but why would this be so like? Why are you writing shit like this? It's like secretive. There's no secrets here. You're writing a police report. Off of Payne's reports, every time Payne does something, I have 50 more questions. So Molly wasn't seen on the Linda Lane cameras. Approximately 30 minutes into the interview. Oh wait, upstairs window duck. Oh yeah, this whole ducking one. And I would say, like, why do you think that she was ducking? Do you think that it could have been like, is it the same person that you saw each time? Why would she be ducking? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay. Look at this. We thanked Molly. This is what I'm going to end with before I go into Dani Vargas for my boom. We thanked Molly for her cooperation, offered any support she may need, and concluded our interview. What the fuck? Do you understand that in no interview or write-up does Payne write that? He doesn't write that when he interviewed these other people. What? We offered any support she may need. What? Support for what? You have her on a trap, pen and trace freaking warrant. Why did you trap her shit? How about this? Maybe, do you feel like Molly's covering for somebody, Payne? Like the person she was there with? I just find it hard to believe that Molly could make it through a day that would require that many hours. I find it so difficult. But if her app's just constantly running, she's got to explain that somehow, right? Well, multiple people are just using my app. All right. We're going to end with a bomb. Big old bomb. All right. And the bomb comes in the form of, well, here, this is just to show you more proof of that whole. Do you see where Officer Payne says on November 24th, I collected a black bowler penguin glove? You see that? He wrote this up on 111. See how I make a note and says, yeah, that's your problem with your report 38. Okay, that's one of the items. Like, and then there's another time that there's a different glove. But I want to give a shout out to Bella. We created a sick database. We saved it all over all these years of any person that we were like, you know, hey, what's up with this? What's up with that type of thing? And we just made a nice little database. And so we're gonna turn to Dani Vargas. When I say here's a boom, this is a boom. Dani Vargas is a detective with the Moscow Police Department, and this is report 130. This was dated on 1/25, 2023. Okay. So this is a narrative from the video collection and tips that Daniel Vargas, or Dani Vargas, MPD, that's her just badge number, whatever, 124. The first thing I noticed is I was like, oh, I see some buried, like when you try to bury something in a report, okay, that you could like miss it. So what I noticed is that, okay, here, November 17th, then we have December 13th, right? And then we have this, which says video obtained and downloaded to MPD evidence November 15th. It's like, dude, this is in some whack. I was like, okay, we need to focus on this. Now, November 17th, Chris Engel. He works for the Pullman Police Department. He also does stuff with the WSU stuff. He was involved with the Brent Kapaka. He was there. Provided me with an email with the information regarding several Pullman home invasions. This was the date that Moscow Police Department asked for that break-in in 2021 that, went kind of viral with the girls being interviewed, and it was the neighbor up top. They thought he was a little dude. I think he was Hispanic or Mexican. Anyways, so she puts this. She was saying that this is a tip provided. Okay. Now, December 13th, I saw an article online of a recent arrest of blank, blank, and blank, blank. Blank was arrested for stabbing multiple people at a casino in blank. Okay. So that's what that has. And we're passing that up because it's ear motherfucking relevant for what we're doing. Around December 15th, I received a phone call from Detective Blank from Blank County Sheriff's Office with information on an abandoned 2016 white Honda Elantra, which was located in Blank County near a residence. I called Detective Blank back, and he provided me with the plates, which is registered to blank blank out of blank. Detective Blank stated there was a past contact at the residence where this vehicle was seen parked involving a relative of blank, 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 and blank, blank. Detective Blank sent me a photo of the vehicle, which I determined did not match the suspect vehicle description. She determined that. This is how this was cleared. Not, I sent this over to the FBI. Those people. But Sergeant Blaker also had received this tip from Detective Blank and spoke with him. So we'll see if we come across that report. Now, remember when Ann Taylor says to Payne on the stand? Officer Detective Payne. I want to talk a little about that Indian Hills Trails camera that you guys got. Do you remember when you obtained that? Do you remember how you obtained that? Do you remember who obtained that? How did that all come about? Okay. On November 15th, I called blank blank, the property owner for blank at Linda Lane. Okay. And asked about video footage he had on the property. Blank stated he did have video and later sent me an email with a direct login to it. Okay. If you have the email and the password, all right, the camera system, so the videos could be viewed for any time frame. So I'm just giving you my login to my freaking what? Okay, now everybody that's a Linda Lane lover, this one's for you. I said, wait, what? Blank and blank below. She's like, this is the email that he sent me. So Vargas just uploads the email. Okay. Vargas uploads the email that the Linda Lane owner sent the MPD. And so she's like, here, details of the email are below. Here it is. Blank and blank. Below is, so this is R and blank. Below is a link to a Google Drive with footage from our cameras at, those are the addresses, Linda Lane. I uploaded videos from 2 cameras from 2 to 6 on 11/13. One camera shows the parking lot of blank, including a little bit of the parking lot from the Queen apartments below. The other camera shows, covers the street of Linda Lane looking towards, Taylor and Blake. The longer videos, the larger files show an entire hour. So you know how those were in the hours? Like it was like 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Now, does Mark, you should like this. 2 to 6. Well, we've seen stuff that's been of interest from 12 to 1, 1 to 2, right? So the longer clips are the hours, while the shorter videos, those are just the clips where there's actual detection of motion. So I said, oh my God. So how this video works is we have a continuous running thing. That's what you're going to have in one reel. Then what my camera is amazing about is that here's this other area that you can go into, and it just shows you anytime that there's movements, here you go. So here's the whole running part, and then here's your movement. So it's not that it runs consecutively, all right? But let's say there's no movement for an hour. Instead of you having to watch that for a whole hour, right? I mean, I would still do it just because that's what I do. But these little clips, it would just tell you exactly when, oh, here, this is where all the movement was, but maybe it missed it, so here. So just breaking that down. So they provide this to the Moscow Police Department for fucking ridiculous access. The videos are currently uploading, so keep refreshing it if they are not also. He puts it all up to this Google link. You're going to sit here and tell me that you never did what you did with like the 1112. You didn't go and get like the hard drive and make sure that nothing was deleted. So additionally, I'm providing a login to the camera system so you can review any of the camera for any time frame. Any time frame. Once logged in, you can choose any of the 4 cameras. What? You guys, we've only seen 2. 4 cameras. 4 cameras? Once logged in, you can choose any of the 4 cameras from the list on the right if using a PC. You can click on the playback tab at the top and then the date from the calendar on the right. Then use the timeline at the bottom to select when to view. Note that the camera that points down Linda Lane goes offline every day from blank to blank for a scheduled Wi-Fi reset. You've got to be fucking kidding me. What? I want proof of that. What? Note the camera that points down, just the one that's down Linda Lane, goes offline every day from blank to blank for a scheduled Wi-Fi reset. Bullshit. And the reason they're blanking that out, well, now we know. Dude, you're getting in front of this? Wait, this was written up January 25th, 2023. This is after Ann Taylor would have been like, where's this hour? Why are we missing shit? You guys are going to sit here and try to tell me that every day from 3:30 to, and then the reason I call bullshit is that because we can prove that the audio and the video, I call bullshit. I call absolute bullshit. Because if that was the case, the audio and the camera itself, the video, would go offline at the same time. Where what we've shown is that it cuts off it's like somebody edited it because they took out the, what do you call it? The audio. Can you guys believe this shit? First of all, there's two cameras that we've never seen. Then this report, which is written up, look at this. 1/25/2023. You're going to write up this report and you're going to say that this is what's up with the Linda Lane camera footage. And that, oh, hey, by the way, guess what happens every single day at a certain time? Our cameras just don't work. Well, hopefully you guys fix that for some reason, because I think the cat's out the bag now, and there's going to be hella like thefts in the area. But just note that the camera that points down Linda Lane goes off. That's the only one. That's the only one but all the other ones don't. You want to believe that shit? That's a fucking lie. That's an absolute lie. Nobody in America would ever buy a fucking camera that went offline for 30 or 40 minutes every single night at a certain time. Get blown. You want to know why Ann Taylor is saying that things won't be admissible and stupid shit like that? I mean, I would need proof that this is true. And I'd want to know why in the world would only one camera do this? If it's resetting, wouldn't all the cameras need to be reset? Not just our one. Mine takes 3 to 4 minutes. Mine takes 2. Right? Who's has ever taken every single day from what I perceive to be what's blacked out there in my personal, this is my opinion, I can't prove this yet right now, but I'm going with 99%, is 3:30 to 4. That's what's there, in my opinion. I can't prove that though. But I would think that would be all the cameras. So note that the camera that points down in the lane goes offline every day from blank for a scheduled Wi-Fi reset. When you say scheduled, like you scheduled it to do that? And then the question is why? Why? Then there's more. In addition to using a web browser to view the videos, there is a PC app and a mobile app that can be downloaded and installed. Just search for blank. So did this person take one from the team and just, hey, how about this? Where's the date of this email? See how she says, I'm just going to, details of the email are below. Well, what's the date? What's the date of this email? And I want to see the actual email, and I want the email address, and I just need it in its entirety. Okay. Well, if that wasn't bizarre enough, okay, just search for blank. You can use the same IP address as the US, so it tells you whatever. If you need any help viewing any of this, don't hesitate to reach out. My cell is this, and then puts his name in there, and then Kane, No wonder why Kane came so hard for me, because I had a video of his whole interior of those apartments and where you go and wash your clothes. Now, I said, oh my God. Remember when I told you to try to hide things in a report? You could possibly get all worked up over this, right? Like, oh, these little shits. Okay. Look at all the way down here. All the way down here. See this right here? I forwarded this information to the FBI blank blank on how to access Linda Lane video footage. Oh, look at that. Remember I told you about the FBI, why there was no video footage in their little report from that time period? And the FBI is like, well, yeah, you're going to just go ahead and say that was, blah, blah, blah. But this is this is going to be wild for you guys. All the way down here at the bottom, on November 27th, 2022, I called CF Dani on November 27th. This is why Anne's over here like, yeah, this is after you identified Brian Koberger. On November 27th, 2022, I called CF, who lives at blank, which we know exactly what the address is. I asked blank if she still had her Nest camera system, as she stated she did. So Dani Vargas, out of the blue, calls up this woman who she clearly knows and is around her age. Okay, I did some digging, and the people that live there are around my age. So Dani Vargas, out of the blue, calls up and asks this woman, hey, do you still have that Nest camera system that you had? Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, could you provide me? I need to get in. I need that. Dani Vargas determined that she needed camera footage over in Indian Hills. Where is there like, hey, I called this person, all these other people to get their cameras? This is why Ann Taylor said, how did this all come about? This is like, this supposed to be like a tips thing, but was there a tip? Did somebody, I called CF, who lives at blank. I stated if she still had her Nest camera system, and she said she did. Blank put me in contact with her husband, blank, and said he could provide me with their available camera footage. Blank brought a hard drive, or drive to MPD, which contained video footage from their Nest camera. A white sedan matching the description of the suspect vehicle is just appearing on this. Is seen traveling west on Indian Hills Drive, west, and passes by blank Indian Hills Drive on 11/13/2022 at approximately 3:25 hours. Voila! This is insanity. This is why Ann Taylor was like, around the end of November and the beginning of December 2022, Detective Chris Engel PPD provided me with the following videos from several Pullman businesses. What do you mean around the end of November? You've been great with your dates. What do you mean the end of November, beginning of December? What's the fucking date? Unless it's multiple dates, you've been putting multiple dates down and you've been writing what you've been doing. Now here, woo. And so then they blank out all these cameras, right? Here you have no problem writing on December 2nd. Detective Chris provided me with the contact information for the blank in Pullman, which is, so she reached out to the corporate security head blank. And he stated we could come to the branch in Pullman and view the video to see if it would have any evidentiary value. Prior to requesting a search warrant to obtain the video, the FBI, by the name RR, made arrangements to view the available video at blank. FBI blank called Dani up. Didn't write an email, calls Dani up and told her that he reviewed the available video and did not locate anything of evidentiary value. So you don't need to do anything. Excuse me? How did the FBI know that Dani was working on this in the first place, right? Oh, hey, I already viewed all that. Like, you're good. There's no evidentiary value on there. What? You guys. The FBI tells Moscow Police Department, oh, we already did that. You did? Okay, cool. Where's the videos? On January 3rd, blank Pullman Police Records Specialist sent me a link to the evidence.com and shared all videos and photos for 2 PPD cases, blank and blank. Blank was a found buck knife in a sheath located Terre View in front of the WSU Technology Research Park on 12/29/2022. The photos for this case are attached in the Spillman to the original call, and I did not download the photos from ppdevidence.com. Why? Blank was a hit and run DUI accident at Blank, which occurred between 11 and 12, or which occurred on 11/12/2022 at approximately 11:40. This location is on the same road leading to Kohlberger's apartment complex, and so therefore, we all know about that. Then we got some jail calls. All of this stuff look at this report that Dani Vargas, all of this report, look at this report should be not in one, okay? These should be multiple reports, different reports, all right? And instead, it's all in one, and you see this type of shit. Where's any interviews of any of these people? There's no interview of. I have not come across an interview. I'll look again and see if I can see KF, but I think it's just something really simple as during the canvas. Anyways, this report right here, it's report 130. You want to talk about how Alan Jackson ran his defense for Karen Reed? Okay. If you think that this isn't problematic, this is exactly what was going on in the Karen Reed case. Again, doesn't mean that Brian Kober is innocent. It just means like, what the fuck, right? The integrity of what you're doing and how you're getting to people. But then you hear last night, go listen to all those interviews of the cops again on CNN, all clipped. So it's, no raw live interview here. Answer the question on the spot because you can't. Because I got a lot of questions about your reports. So basically, you aren't getting Brian Kober without IGG, period. 150%. And they said that Othram did the work. That Othram was great. And that Othram is solving cases. I don't disagree. We want to know why you had to violate our rights if Othram is great and can solve cases, and why couldn't you just do it on the up and up? What's the problem? That's where the whole integrity lies. None of what you did, any of this shit, none of this led to Brian Kober. Every single report that y'all did and everything that you did, none of it led to Brian Kober. The only thing, even after you had to try to work backwards, is you're going to say, okay, we have a white vehicle in the area, and that's if the killing was done, and we have this, the touch DNA hit on the sheath. But you also have a scene that looks like it's multiple perpetrators. There's a cleanup, and you have a bunch of eyewitnesses that have contradicting statements. We got a firecracker going off. We have fucking flashlights, firecrackers. So I'm going to round that up, but there's your dots for the day. On your way out, let me know where you're watching from in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the video. And again, I'm asking the questions, so there may be a reason that this is the most amazing report we've ever seen. Everything that I showed you. All I know is that we'd have to listen to the videos or the audio recordings, because what you think is pertinent and what I think is pertinent and what somebody else thinks is pertinent, all three of us, if we were to go and write up a report from a recording of an hour of an interview, let's go ahead and compare 3 different reports. I guarantee you they're all not the same. Like 150%. I'll throw all the chips in. There's no way that all 3 of us are going to write the same report unless we transcribe the interview. see you on the flip side.